What's up, guys? My name is Caine, and welcome to my first podcast. This is something that I've been wanting to do for a long time, mainly because I'm a big fan of podcasts. I listen to a lot of them, a lot more than I thought. And I remember my first experience with the podcast was years ago, where Two Best Friends Play, which was an up-and-coming channel that I enjoyed watching on Machinima. They were on a podcast, or it wasn't so much a podcast, but it was a radio show, but it was like an hour-long video of just audio, and I was like really the first time that I was ever interested in giving a video like that a shot. And it was really enjoyable, mainly because I enjoyed listening to those guys like talk about other stuff, in regards to Let's Playing and all that other stuff. And after that, I've been listening to Super Best Friends Play. I'm sorry, Super Best Friends, Super Best Friend Cast, which is their podcast. I listened to Giant Bomb Podcast. I listened to Talk is Jericho, The Steve Austin Show, The Ross Report, Chasing Glory. I listened to the Totally Unnecessary podcast by Pat Contry. A lot of like wrestling or mainly gaming oriented podcasts. And I've always listened to them when I was either walking to work or walking home from work, or when I used to work my overnight shifts. They were really enjoyable. But and I want you to let me know what podcasts you listen to. But I mentioned that I've been wanting to do this for a long time, and as I sit here recording this finally, tonight's really the only good time for me to do this. If I do this any other night, then it would be kind of last minute. So it's a good day to do this, because I really want to do this. And mainly I'm going to be talking about, I have some topics here. It's mainly about my experience so far Let's Playing and trying to make the perfect channel in my eyes, like my own personal channel. Not like the best channel on YouTube, it's just something that I am proud of, all the content I make, just something that I've talked about before in vlogs, where when you want to make your own YouTube channel, whether it be, gaming channel or an art channel, it has to be something that you're proud of, and, a way for you to express yourself and maybe break out of your shell. When you get out of high school and whatnot, there's sometimes some people still need help to break out of their shell when it comes to other things. And that's what I mainly did it for, because I was a big fan of YouTube. So yeah, I'm going to be getting into, the 4 years that I've been running this channel, and talk about the origin story and whatnot, and just the amazing things when I think about it. Like, here's a tip for you guys, because there are some nights, and I'm sure you guys do this too, where you're enjoying, YouTube videos for the day, your favorite YouTubers or whatnot, awaiting their new videos. But, if you run out of new things to watch, you kind of go through your favorite channels and you watch maybe some videos you might have missed. You go to their page, you look at some past videos. But something what I do is, if there are, your absolute favorite channels, sometimes what you could do is you can go to their channel page, you go to the videos section, and there's a sort by button, and you click that and you'll see like most popular, date added oldest, or date added newest. And sometimes I'll go to like date added oldest, and I'll see like their very first videos, the ones they made years and years ago. And it's just interesting to me as a content creator to see someone that I admire on YouTube, to look back and see what kind of person they were, like the microphone quality, the webcam quality, like the kind of games that they were playing, and you'll find more content like that. Yeah, it's old, but you never know what you might find, or you could learn about that person. and whatnot. And you know, there are a lot of channels now that have changed a lot since I watched them like 2 or 3 years ago, but I still think it's amazing how, you know, much of an influence that those people can be. It's also a shame because some of them kind of lose track of what they were trying to do, and they just kind of, you know, they're popular now. So yeah, I think you guys get what I'm trying to say. But you know, they're just all people just like you and me, you know. So, but let's see, how do I want to start this? So yeah, as I'm recording this, I'm still like a little nervous. I don't know why. It's the same feeling that I felt when whenever you do anything new, you always feel nervous. And I felt this nervous when I first recorded my first videos, recording webcam for the first time, live streaming for the first time, doing my first readings videos, which I think I've only done 4 of them. And it was definitely something different. I like trying different things, and that's why I really wanted to do this podcast too, was just to try different things. And you know, I commend those of you who give this a shot. If you've never listened to a podcast before, it's definitely entertaining. You know, when I was a teenager, I used to listen to Preston and Steve on FM radio and all that stuff. I remember growing up and like playing like Dragon Quest VIII, and I would play the radio while I play, because there's a lot of like walking around, and it's an RPG, you know, so there's a lot of random battles and whatnot, and I would turn it down when like any story stuff happens, you know. It's kind of like Breath of the Wild, where there's just a lot of fooling around, so you just kind of play music over it like Pandora. But back then, like Preston and Steve, and they were really fun. It was around the time where Speak from Godsmack came out. That song played every time. I was playing that game every day until I beat it, and that song came on every day. And so it's kind of like a memory that I just don't forget when I think about it. It's weird, but let's see. So yeah, it's when you do something like this, it's good to write down a few things in case you lose your train of thought. But yeah, the origin story. So we're gonna get this started, and so what I want to, let's see. So before I actually created the Chris Caine channel that, you know, this channel is uploaded on, I had a channel before this, and now I have to go into a little story about before I made my very first channel. Was Yu-Gi-Oh was a big part of my life. I was really drawn to the show, and I was really drawn to the card game. A lot of my best friends I've met through the game. And I was always the person in my group of friends, and I would meet a bunch of new people because I was that kind of guy who people would recommend to me to build their own deck. Like I always had this mindset where I think of worst case scenarios. There are certain mindsets I go about when it comes to building decks and whatnot, and I'm not going to explain to you how Yu-Gi-Oh is played in this podcast. I'm just explaining that I was the guy that knew the ins and outs, and you know, came up with strategies, and just kids would come to my house with all the cards they've ever owned, and they would hand them to me, and I would sort out their whole collection and pick out cards that I thought were useful, because in their mindset, they weren't sure. And it's just kind of funny to me, but yeah, they were just like, yo, Chris is really good at building decks. You know, you just bring all your cards over, and that's what I used to do. And I would lay them out on the floor, and I would put them all in a deck, and then I look it over, and I pick out cards that I'm like, okay, you know what, now that they're all together, you don't need this one. You know, you have these cards, so you don't need this one. And I was just that kind of guy, and then we'd play. And so then when I would watch on YouTube and I would look at other Yu-Gi tubers, you know, channels like Azurite Reaction. Sorry, that's a gaming channel. I'm thinking of Asian Eyes White Dragon was a Yu-Gi tuber I used to watch, and Galactigod was another one, and Your Yu-Gi-Oh channel. And so I decided I wanted to be a part of that. So I did like deck profiles of like interesting games. My whole concept was that I came up with cheap decks that people could play, because a lot of the main decks that were used competitively were around like $1,000. You know, like they were like these broken ass cards, and each of them were like $300. You know, everybody'd have 3 of each, plus like the rest of the deck. And I would have these like unique decks, or decks that weren't considered the best. I would tweak it. And basically I got a lot of feedback from it. People would tell me how much I've helped them in comments or whatever. And then I also did things where I invited people, hey, you know, message me your deck profile, everything you have, and I'll look over it, I'll test it out. And then I made a video dedicated to that particular person or that YouTube account name, and I would directly talk to that person in the video and explain to them what changes that I made and all that shit. So I did that, and it was extremely fun. And I also dueled with different decks, and I was screw around. And then after that, I kind of got a little burnt out on Yu-Gi-Oh! So then I started doing Let's Plays of I did like the GBA Yu-Gi-Oh games, and I also did like Mega Man Battle Network, which is a Game Boy Advance game. I wanted to do Pokemon, and I also thought about playing horror games, but my fan base were not having it. I had guys telling me like, you know, what the fuck, like, no, do Yu-Gi-Oh, that's you, like, don't do this shit. I'm like, that's not cool, man. You don't call my stuff I like shit. Like, tell me you don't like Pokemon, you don't like Mega Man, like, so. But I was already burned out on Yu-Gi-Oh! And I was hoping, and that's when I learned that day that when you build a brand and you're known for something, when you do something completely different, you know, no one's going to watch it, because you've built an audience of people who like one particular thing. So then I made this channel, the Chris Caine Gaming channel, and I knew that I had to build from scratch. And I didn't mind doing it because I have a structured mindset, and the whole main thing was I was going to do like one horror Let's Play and one adventure Let's Play. The adventure Let's Play was going to be something that was completely opposite of the horror game, obviously, you know, but you know, I wanted to play Pokemon, I wanted to play, you know, all this like other stuff, all these RPGs that I wanted to play, and it was just really fun to do. It made me feel productive, and because I had a lot of time to kill, because, you know, back then, you know, when I was 22, I was working, and I am not a big fan of the lifestyle of, you know, you wake up, you go to work, you come home, eat, go to bed, then work, wake up, go to work, just repeat the cycle over and over and over. Like, doing this made me feel like my life was interesting. You know, I had this hobby, you know. I don't, unfortunately, like a lot, and I say unfortunately because I feel like, you know, I don't know why I always feel weird. Like, a lot of my friends, they play basketball, and I'm just not interested. I've played basketball before. I'm not fantastic at it, but I've played it. But for fun, I never felt like excited to do sports, like, because I'm just more of a relaxed guy. I don't. And I never really spent a lot of my time playing games because I mainly just watched YouTube. And another good way of saving money is if a new game comes out, and every new game is like $60, watching on YouTube to me felt like it was such a smart decision, because you were saving money and you got to experience the game. Yeah, someone else is playing it, but if you're only interested in the story, then you could just enjoy it. And the Rad Brad was who I watched play those games, and his channel taught me, when I considered maybe being a Let's Player, was that he was being himself, and you know, I enjoyed watching him play. And the thing is that when I was in high school, I was a pretty funny guy. Like I'm pretty good at telling stories and joking around. I'm very sarcastic, and I love horror films. And when we watch movies with my other friends, like I always have like, I was never that annoying guy who constantly talks during the movie, but sometimes something will happen on screen, and I would just like laugh or point out something really dumb, and people liked that, you know. My one friend John, he loves taking me to the movies. He loves having me come with him to the movies because he enjoys movies more with me because I'm just so expressive. And you know, for example, like when we went to see the new It movie, there were a lot of things I weren't expecting. There were a lot of dumb things. Like I cracked up hysterically when the clown was dancing in that one scene that people are now playing music over. And I remember watching, I went to go see, what was it? Not Scorched Trials. Oh, Maze Runner. That was a really good movie. And just a lot of the people conversing, like just, I remember there were just some like dumb things that were going on in the story. Not that it was a bad story, but like things that kids would say. I'm like, so stupid. Like, it's like, this guy's such an asshole, you know. I would just say stuff like that. And so, but anyway, I was confident in myself that I can make a very entertaining channel, because there were so many games that I wanted to play, whether I haven't played them yet or I've beaten them before, but I wanted to like showcase them, to share to you guys what games I'm into. Like the Mega Man Battle Network 3 wasn't my best Let's Play, but I was proud to do it, and so was Persona 3. I never played the PSP version, so that was really cool. There's a lot of new things I'd never seen when I first played it on PS2. That's the thing when you start a Let's Play channel, is you have to go in with a game plan. And that game plan is not to make money, and it's not to be famous. You know, I grew up knowing that, you know, I was in like a small circle of people, and I felt comfortable that way. And I didn't agree with a lot of people's philosophies, so I was never that hugely popular. You know, I always kind of kept to myself, but I had good friends, and they all knew who I was. You know, my personality, and then they you know, people who wanted to get to know me are my friends, and everybody else who just kind of judge a book by its cover, you know, just this quiet guy, never getting to get to know him. When in high school, I did a JROTC program, and it was extremely fun. But what I didn't realize was a lot of the seniors were graduating, so a lot of us sophomores, we had to fill in the roles a junior would. And it made me come out of my shell a lot more, and I started to not really care what people thought about me anymore, because I was just more comfortable expressing myself. And we had leadership roles, so I had to just kind of get over all that, and it helped me a lot. So, and that's how I started to kind of, you know, when you're in front of the class and you're supposed to kind of lead the class in certain ways, you know, your personality comes out, and I made a lot of friends in there who I, you know, stay in contact with and whatnot. But another thing too, why I became a Let's Player, is that, you know, a lot of my friends have either joined the military full-time, unlike me. I did it part-time without realizing how it was going to go, you know, that it was going to be a little unfulfilling. But a lot of them did it full-time. A lot of them went to college. A lot of them just moved. So I still have a couple friends around, very good friends that I still hang out with, but, you know, they're working too. So I just had a lot of time on my hands, and that's just how it happens, you know. So yeah, I was very excited to get started, and I had the structure in my head, and I went along with it. That's pretty much it. You know, it just felt really exciting. At the time, I was watching, like I said, the Rad Brad. I was watching Markiplier, which like 3 years ago, he was just not just starting, but he was slowly growing. Like he was under 100,000 subscribers when I was watching him, and he was another guy who was just being himself, his goofy self, you know. And but I could see that it wasn't goofy like faking it. It was him genuinely acting like himself, and that's what drawed me to his videos and had me looking forward. I think he had like a schedule, like every noon or every 3 p.m. or something like that, it would be a new video, and he didn't disappoint. So the one thing too is like when you have your own structure, sometimes you base your structure on how other Let's Players do it, and it's not a bad thing, but sometimes you feel like you're looking at how it's done, but then you got to realize actually this works better for me. And I'll get into more of that, what I mean. Like when I say that, it's like video lengths. Like people ask me sometimes, excuse me, they say like when you do Let's Plays, should the parts be longer or they should be shorter? There's like the whole thing you figure out where you have a channel like the Game Grumps that uploads videos from 10 to 15 minutes apart. And then you have other channels that do 30 minutes and sometimes even an hour each part. And it just kind of depends on what you're comfortable with and also the amount of time that you have. If you're a channel that uploads like once or twice a week, you know, that's just what they do, you know. But personally, I always liked having daily videos. I like being that guy that people will know that there'll be a daily video. And I just like having it that way. So when I edit videos, sometimes I'll record as much as I can to the point where I'm just like taking a break because editing takes some time. So you could say like, you know, you have like 3 hours to yourself. Well, I'll record for like an hour and a half or 2 hours, and then I'll be like, okay, that gives me an hour to hurry up and edit all these videos together so I don't have to like, you know, worry about it later. Editing's so fun. Being sarcastic, but editing is a lot of fun in a way where, you know, it's just that kind of shitty thing you want to get over with. And another thing too about editing is like you'll record some gameplay and sometimes you want to edit right away because there was a certain part in your recording that you want to edit out, but you feel like you might forget. Like if you edit this the next day, you might forget that, oh wait, I want to edit out a certain part where like I took a drink of water or or someone knocked on the door and I answered the door or whatever. And I would always have these little tricks where my main trick was that I would keep talking, and when you put your audio file in the editing software, you see the wave, and if it's completely flatlined, that tells future me to edit that part out because something either happened or I took a sip and then I was quiet for like a whole minute, so that in that long stretch of me talking, I see that there's this gap of no talking, and that like that was my trick to find places to edit out. Because sometimes it'd be kind of hard. But yeah, it was frustrating. It's like when you have Let's Plays where there are a lot of long cutscenes and you're quiet for those, so you have to keep checking to see, okay, is this the part where I want to, and no, it's a cutscene. Okay, and I look over the whole video and I'm like, okay, there are actually no parts to edit out. I was just quiet for these cutscenes. You know, so editing can be a lot of fun. I remember learning how to edit, and you know, you self-teach yourself this stuff. The whole thing is that you record the game and then you record your audio separately on a microphone, obviously, and then you line them up. And there are times where sometimes I didn't do a mic test where either the wrong microphone was recording or I forgot to sync up the gameplay with, like, I didn't do like you know, 1, 2, 3, with like the mouse cursor on the main menu, 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. Like I would just forget to do it, so that when I put it in the thing, I would look for it and I'm like, oh, I never did it. So I have to watch it and see if I make sense and like line up everything. And it's just, there's so many little fun things. And also, when you're recording webcam, what I learned very early was that I used to record the game and I recorded my webcam, and there were 2 video files. Now sometimes when you put 2 video files together, maybe it was just my editing software or my laptop, but sometimes the video would render and it would just crash, or the video would say it's finished, but when you watch it, it just freezes, or it's just sound but a black screen. And it's just all this stuff where it's like, what the fuck is happening? And I find little weird fixes. And sometimes I would spend so much time trying to figure out a solution. And you know what? That just comes with it. You know, Let's Playing is just one of those things where you're committed to this little hobby, this project, and there are times where it's frustrating, but you still do it anyway. Like it's one of those things where you just don't quit. You're just like, it's like, why the fuck am I doing this? Like, this is dumb. I'll just play games on my own. But I enjoy more sharing the adventure. Like when I play games, sometimes I think to myself, like, man, this is really cool. Like, you know, I'm really enjoying this, and but I kind of want to share my adventure through this game for the first time. And you know, watching Let's Players, it made me feel that way. You know, it wasn't just being popular or whatever. You know, of course, in the back of your mind, you go, you know, I think after some time, maybe I'll be popular. Maybe people will see this stuff and it'll just explode for some reason. And you know, but a lot of stuff doesn't happen overnight. And after 4 years, I'm very, very proud that I did things my way and I hit 10,000 subscribers. I actually had 10,000 people at some point find my video somewhere, watched it and went, I like what this guy's doing. Or maybe they clicked it, they went, what's this? And they look and they see something that they like that I've played or talk about or whatever. And they go, oh, I like this, you know. And that's how it should be. You know, sub for sub doesn't work. It doesn't. It's what's the point of having a large subscriber count if you have a bunch of people who don't give a fuck about you? You know, that's just the whole thing of it. You know, it's everybody in the oh my god, and giveaways too. Like, why? Now you're inviting a bunch of people who care about the giveaway, not you. And then you upload a Let's Play and you wonder why it's only gotten 1 view. But when you first start out, here's the mindset that I tell people, because it is kind of frustrating when you do a Let's Play and no one's watching. And a lot of it has to do with how things are now where, you know, it's 2017. Like, being a brand new channel, it sucks because there's so many gaming channels out there. And you're a little shrimp in this huge ocean called YouTube. You got the whales and you got the sharks, these giant fish that have huge sub accounts that stand out so much. And you start off as a little guppy, a little plankton, a little, you know, shrimp. But, you know, when you become a Let's Player, you want to do it for fun. You want to do it with your friends. And by that, I don't mean like, you know, if you want to do a channel with a friend and the whole concept is that you and your friend play games all the time, that's cool. But get someone who's committed. But it's good to just have your own kind of thing. And if your friend wants to do it, you know, you could have them in the video and whatnot. But, you know, have your own little thing, because sometimes I've seen group channels where, you know, 4 friends or 2 friends, they start a channel together, but then one guy doesn't see it as you do, where like you're committed to this thing and you love creating content, but the guy's like, nah, I'm done. Like, really? Great. So you built this channel on the concept of 2 people, but now there's only 1 person now. So it's good to have your own thing and be with somebody who's committed or whatnot. But here's my concept that I want to pitch to you if you ever want to be a Let's Player. If you really love doing Let's Plays, do them, and just know that sometimes people like watching Let's Plays the same as they like Netflix shows, where they wait for the season to end. They wait for the whole season 1 to end so that they could binge it later, and that's how some people view Let's Plays. But also, you know, just be committed to the game you want to play. Don't have this mindset of, okay, I'm going to record like an hour of this game, and if the views do okay, then I'll do more. Like, don't do it like that. If you want to create an adventure and you want to document it, like I did with a lot of these other games, there were some games that I played that I just finished that I really enjoyed. Yeah, I knew that the first few videos weren't doing well. You know, part 1 always does the best because people are interested and curious, and then part 2, it's like half the videos or whatever. But once you finish, then you should be getting some people who will eventually find it. You know, just because someone's not subscribed to you now and watching doesn't mean that within a year somebody might find it and then watch it then. And then I get so many comments on videos from years ago that people just now watch. Somebody watched my Silent Hill playthrough, which I did 2 years ago. They just binged it the other day. You know, I saw the comments from his videos. And, you know, so if you want to document your adventure through certain games and you really enjoy doing that, do it. And people see that. Like, if people are drawn to you being excited and just, you know, your commitment in Let's Playing or whatever you feel like doing on YouTube. You know, don't go based on views. You know, I'll admit I've had moments like that where I would wonder why views are not going up, or, you know, why subscribers aren't going up. But that's just, you know, it's one of those things you kind of have to hide the numbers. You just have to just commit to what you're doing because you enjoy doing it. You know, don't look at the analytics, don't look at the subscriber count. You know, you just do it because you enjoy doing it. Sorry about all the ums. I'm just going by this, but I don't think you guys mind. A lot of people have this habit, but part of me feels like it's bad etiquette when you talk to keep saying but I'm doing a podcast, for God's sakes. So, but yeah, mainly focus on just building your YouTube channel the way you want it to look, the way you want to express yourself. You know, if you want to go with games that, or a type of content that you think is popular and you want to go for it, that's up to you. But, you know, don't just realize that if something that you do starts to become really popular, and then you wonder, it gets like really popular, but then you do something different and people start not watching that stuff because they mainly care about that one thing you did, but the other stuff, like, try not to get pigeonholed into things. You know, don't just keep doing something that you don't quite enjoy just because it does really well in views, is what I'm trying to say. That's also very important. Now, fortunate for me, and I'm going to start talking about this now. I think at the end of this podcast, I know I'm probably going to finish this up and go, oh, I forgot to talk about this and that. But I think I've covered really important things I wanted to mention. But here is something I wanted to talk to you guys about because it's really important. So I have my YouTube channel pulled up and I sort it by the oldest. And it's just pretty crazy. I have some... I'm very happy when a video at least hits 100 views. That's just how it is. You know, I'm not the most popular YouTuber out there. You know, there are some people who... I always see those comments where people say, you know, one day you should have more subs. It'll happen one day. It will. But it's not going to stop me or discourage me from keep doing what I feel is fun. You know, right now, at this point in time, I'm 3 days away from going to my training to start my whole new career in the military. And so when I go there, from the time until I leave, and then when I go there, I don't want my I just don't want my mindset to be, okay, I gotta start making videos now. Like, I'm just gonna focus on what's important. You guys understand that. But I focus on what's more important, then I am gonna come back. And podcasting, I think, is a good way for me to give you guys content, but not be committed to a long series. I enjoy Let's Plays so much. You know, I like also taking a look at indie games and stuff, but the problem with indie games sometimes is that some of them, despite the page saying it's complete, there are bugs, there's broken, or it ends up being boring or not interesting at all. Frustrating. Just not what you expected. Or sometimes they go a little too long. You know, there's a night where I want to get like at least 2 or 3 videos done, but one game burnt me out. So there's stuff like that. The Let's Plays are fun where you can just record like 1 or 2 hours of it and then split it into 3 or 4 videos. And it's like, damn, I got that done. That's mainly why I enjoy Let's Plays a lot. But anyway, what I wanted to talk a little bit about pigeonholing. And I'm very fortunate. You know, when I look at this, I see like point and click games did really well. You know, not all of them, but mainly some of them. And then I would play certain like one-shot games of like indie horror games or point and click games. They do really well, probably because people check them for answers to riddles or riddles, puzzles and stuff like that. And that's not a bad tactic. You know, people find your video to find an answer to a puzzle, but then they watch it and they go, I'm gonna subscribe to this guy because this guy actually sounds pretty cool. And then I started playing some certain RPG Maker games, and it was obvious to me that it did really, really well compared to different things that I would play. Like I see Outlast there. I did some Pokemon. At some point I did like Game Boy Advance games. At the time, my laptop could run Game Boy Advance games and PlayStation 1 games perfectly. PS2, not. Emulation, no. Absolutely not. Still no. Like, there are still problems, so unfortunately I can't do anything like that. Certain Steam games wouldn't work, but some would. I finally figured out what games and what specs would work. But yeah, RPG horror games do really well, and I'm glad, you know, because it's not like one particular series. It's, you know, for example, like Five Nights at Freddy's, when that came out, people played it. Some channels blew up because of it. Dark Souls channels, when they mainly focus on Dark Souls and the lore and doing all that stuff, you know, they got really popular for that. But then they do different stuff, and unfortunately, you now have a channel of people who are interested in just Dark Souls content or Five Nights at Freddy's content, fan theories, all that crap. I like being a variety channel, and even though I know that most of my fan base is geared to more interested in me playing certain types of games, I still like to have other variety of content. Even if it's a small minority of people on my subscriber count, at least they still are getting what they enjoy about me too, is that I don't just play this kind of content, but I also play other stuff. But there have been times where I would just kind of focus on horror, mainly horror, but, you know, and then something interesting would come out that was totally different, wouldn't do so well, but I would still finish it. Yeah, then I did highlights because I was like, well, I'm a little tired and I can't really record anything, so I'm gonna cut off a piece of a Let's Play, which I thought was really funny, and I did that. But I'm really thankful for, of all things, to kind of be pigeonholed. It's just, you know, RPG Maker horror was specifically what did really well. And, you know, so with that, I keep that in mind. I'll find something interesting, but it doesn't stop me from playing games that I was absolutely excited about, like Dark Souls 3 and Resident Evil 7, and doing adventure games like Persona and whatnot, because that's what I really wanted to Let's Play. And there are a lot of games like that that I plan on playing when I return. Still, I'll probably tell you guys some of the games I have on that list if I remember. And then, yeah, some interesting horror games that come out. But the problem is when you play just horror games, like you just boot up a new one that you find on GameJolt or itch.io, IndieBee, you launch it and it's like laggy as shit because the creator didn't make it very well, or, you know, like I like to wait until people have made videos on it just so I know that it's completable. You know, like people would upload like a full playthrough of this. I'm like, okay, this YouTuber was able to beat it completely, so that tells me that this game's not broken. Unlike some duds that I've played, and some that I've uploaded and some that I haven't, because I was like, this is not a good video. It's not. I tried my best, but it's not what I expected. Yeah, Megiko Castle was like one of those RPG Maker games that I was like, that's cool. And then I played Wandan O'Hara and The Grey Garden, which were very different. They were mainly story-based, but people did enjoy... Like, I enjoyed a good story. I like games that have a very weird story, specifically. Like, it could be interesting, but it needs to be a little weird for me to be like, what the fuck? Like, genuinely interest me in finding out more. And, oh, I think I lost my train of thought. Shit. But yeah, I just really... Oh yeah, I like games. I like situational games. It gives me more to bounce off of as far as commentary, so that I'm able to, you know, talk about what I think is going to happen. Or I've played so many games where I would try to predict in the future, like, oh, don't tell me this game's going to end with this, or, you know, what if we're just in a reality show, or something like that. And it's really fun, because then I get people at the end of the Let's Play who early in the Let's Play could have been like, oh, you guessed it, or at the very end it's like, okay, he found out that it's what he predicted in part 2, and then he goes, I can't believe you said in part 2 that it was this, because you were right. And now you're going to see you're right. I just noticed I have a video that's called I Will Try to Do Better. I would feel so guilty if I missed a video too. Like, I enjoy having a daily video, but I remember that sometimes I would just need a break, but I wouldn't say anything. So I would just upload a video just telling you guys, look, I'm just going to do a little better next time. But for now, I'm just going to take a little break. Yeah, I played Ocarina of Time. And that was one of those things where it's like, okay, let's go back to adventure. This is a game I've never played, because I never grew up with an N64. And I'm going to experience it for the first time. And the views are pretty good, you know. But it doesn't matter, because I know those people stuck with me and they enjoyed it. And that's like one of my favorite Let's Plays I've done, especially the boss fights. I'm looking at the thumbnails I made, which are not the best, but I tried to make I always try to make thumbnails interesting, but not spoiling anything. Sometimes I wouldn't put the number there, sometimes I would, or wouldn't. It is what it is. Yeah, Forest of Drizzling Rain, that was a really cool story game. Yeah, it did have horror in it, but it had like a love thing on it. And Corpse Party, that was fantastic. But yeah, like I said, it's not about the views. It's just going on adventures, and you know, you're creating a show, and you know, eventually you have Let's Plays are kind of like Netflix seasons, where eventually people will watch it. It's finished. Eventually people will watch it and they'll enjoy it. And I just keep doing, you know, the list keeps adding on. I remember one of my first Let's Plays, and like the very first video on my channel is a montage, I think. Or no, it's not a montage, but it was a funny moment from Dino Crisis. It was a horror game for the PS1, and I've never played it. I also never played the first 3 Resident Evils, which that didn't help. I started with 4 and up, so I wasn't used to the classic PS1 horror controls. I just remember playing Dino Crisis on a demo disc, and So I played it for a Let's Play, but the problem is that that game is really complicated. And it's really, like, PS1 games are generally really hard. And so I knew I couldn't beat it, and I prided myself to completing Let's Plays that I start, but I realized I had to do more research into them before I make that decision. So I actually deleted those, the whole playthrough, but I kept that clip up because I was like, I'm not going to delete that particular moment. Like, it'll be a funny clip. But yeah, as you go on with Let's Playing, you figure out what games are really hard to record and a pain in the ass, or ones that are pretty easy to record, and you end up playing just because it's easy to play or easy to record. But yeah, like, I'm just so thankful, really. Like, when I look at my channel and I see like the early beginnings to now, like, I am proud of what I've made. And what's fun too is that even there are some games that I would have looked back years ago and thought like, oh, I wouldn't be proud to play that. Like certain dating sims or like really cringy games or whatever, games I don't normally play, like visual novels and dating sims and all that stuff. But I played them anyway because I like watching Let's Players like cringe at certain things in games. And, you know, they'd force themselves to play kind of like these really, really weird games. And I like putting myself in that situation because I think it would make an entertaining video, if that makes any sense. But, oh yeah, where was I going with that? I just really enjoyed putting myself in situational games, whether they be cringy or not. But, yeah, then I started playing Mega Man Battle Network, which didn't do great views. I learned, too, is that you can't do the best Let's Play in the world when you've played the game before. Especially if you've beaten the game before and just replaying it for a Let's Play. Like, I still want to play another Battle Network game, but yeah, it's just one of those things, like, just those things that you know in the back of your head. It's like, okay, when I start this adventure, I'm going to be glad to do it. It's kind of like a project. It's like, I can't wait. I want to start this, I want to finish it, and then be really proud of myself that I finished it. And even though it might not do great for views, I know some people out there will enjoy it and whatnot. Oh yeah, no, what I want to talk about was just how proud I am of not only the content that I've made over the years, but also all the people I've met. And that's another thing I wanted to talk about too, in general. This is like all the people I've met through this journey, through this like hobby of mine. And it's just, there are like two different subjects I want to talk about. But one, I want to talk about the good part of it. Was not only did I meet awesome YouTubers who were into the same things I was. And that's what works well the best. Like, you know, I see popular YouTubers where in the comments, small channels want to collab with that person. But like, you know, first of all, you got to have a lot in common. So that you can't just collab with just any YouTuber. It has to be somebody who likes the same things you do, or that you're like kind of friends with in the beginning. Like, you got to get to know the guy, you got to socialize a bit. And one particular YouTuber, curly haired hero, like, we're both into Yu-Gi-Oh, Pokemon, and Mega Man Battle Network. Right there, we just clicked right away, and you know, we mess around on Twitter and send each other stuff. And DAMNjacquie Let's Play, another one who does mainly RPG Maker horror games. I found him when I was stuck on certain RPG horror games, and I would see his videos, and after I saw like the answer to my problem, I look at his whole channel and I go, wow, he likes the same kind of games I do, and he's interested in all these other stuff. And so I followed him and I talked to him, and you know, I talk to people like a person. And then it goes into a whole other problem where I would do that. Sometimes I would go, when I was bored, I would go on the YouTube search bar and I'd put in like a game that I like Mega Man or Dragon Quest VIII or Legend of Dragoon. And I would try to like find small channels. Like the big channels come up for those games and whatnot. Or like an RPG Maker game I played recently, and I'd see these smaller channels. I look for the small channels. I would update the search to like recent videos, and I'd see like the new ones. and I would see other YouTubers that they were kind of like into the same things I was, or I'd see what they're going for, and I would send them a message, and they reply with a fucking like commercial, or like they're trying to sell me their channel. And it turns me off so much, because it's like, I mean, like, hi, my name is, Chris. I saw your channel and I think it's really, really cool. Like, you play a lot of the games that I played before, and I see where you're going, and I just wanted to get to know you a little more. And then they reply, or like on either the YouTube message or on the inbox on Twitter, they would just reply with something like, hi, if you want to have a good time and laugh, I upload every Monday, Wednesday, and Friday. So follow my, YouTube army. Like they didn't sound like themselves. They just sounded like a copy paste, thing. And it's just like, I get you're trying to build a business, but I'm just trying to, I'm in a business myself. I have my own channel, but I wanted to like make friends. I wasn't trying to convince them to, subscribe to my channel. Like, if you see what you see and you're not interested, that's one thing. But like, I wanted to just get to know them. So I'm happy to have met YouTubers who, I can like just kind of talk to, or I'd suggest games to them, and then they would message me with certain things. MAMJ Let's Play was like messaging me about how Darkwood was a game I was interested in playing, and he messaged me going, hey, the developers actually released a free version because what was it? I looked it up, and they were like, yeah, they were sad that people in Australia couldn't buy their game. They couldn't acquire it on Steam or whatever, so they just put it as like a free download on like Pirate Bay. And they were like, hey, man, I heard you're interested in this game, and it was really nice of them. Let me know this stuff. And also the artists, too, which I wanted to make sure to talk about. There's Alistair, or Bay on Twitter. There's Salty Bubblegum. There's supergorski, which is a great friend that I've talked to before. There's Neryl, who's a new artist that I've talked to. Again, somebody I talked to like a normal person, get to know them, who found my videos and was the fan art. Oh my God. Like, getting fan art is just one of those things where it's the icing on the cake, where it's like, oh my God, that's amazing. And they did this for me. It's like Silent Hill fan art, or they just took my icon and drew some whole other thing. And, and these are artists who do commissions. You pay them money for certain art, but they were just a big fan of my work, that they were those kind of artists that would be like, hey, listen, if you want a thumbnail or a banner or an icon, let me know and I'll do it. And Alistar and supergorski are one of those artists that were just really quick. They're so quick. Like, other than the times where they're like, yeah, I'm a little busy this week, but you should see it at the end of the week or something like that. I'm like, that's great, man. I know you guys want money for this stuff. I just don't have it. But they're just like, no problem, man. I'd be glad to. I'd love to. And they would reply with like a week or two, a day or two. And that's where some of these thumbnails, Lisa the Joyful, what's another one? Let me pull up. Lisa the Joyful was one of those like amazing art from Alistair. Cup Ramen too. Lucy on Twitter. She made the Pokemon Glazed live stream thumbnail. That was really nice of her. Like, one memory I'll never forget was around Christmas time. supergorski sent me my channel icon that I suggested to him. I was like, yeah, it'd be really cool if I had my own like icon, and I wasn't using like a picture of the hero from Dragon Quest VIII as my icon. it's one of my favorite games of all time, and one of my favorite character designs of a hero that I liked and I used. And it was around Christmas time, and he messaged, he sent me the art, and I was just like, oh my god, this is so amazing. It's just one of those things that I'll always remember and cherish. Oh yeah, I wish I could. I'm looking at like really old videos, but I feel like newer ones. Oh, DAMNjacquie is one of them. Really fun game. I'm glad I got. It was like one of the harder Let's Plays to do, mainly because that game requires you to have a lot of free time to record it. Yeah, DAMNjacquie was one of them. Oh god, what was a lot of the games I play, I was hoping that they would have something interesting to use, like art in the game as thumbnails. So I wouldn't keep bugging. I don't like bugging. I don't like keep asking artists for thumbnails for things. I would just try to make it my own. And if it wasn't possible, I'd be like, hey, listen, I have a huge favor. And I would just message him like, I'm going to play this game. Would you like to make a thumbnail for me? That'd be great. And be like, no problem. Like, I just hate asking. Yeah, I'm like all the way back, but I know there's way more examples, or I just didn't ask that often. But yeah, it's just, oh, Undertale, yeah, super salty bubblegum made that. I really liked that one. Oh, Fatal Frame 2 was another custom one. Yeah, a lot of stuff. Unfortunately, I like don't remember everything. Oh, Liberetta was another. Oh my god, I actually forget who made that one. Yes, a subscriber made her own fan art of me from Liberetta, and because she was enjoying the Let's Play as was going on, and on the final part, I incorporated that fan art onto the thumbnail, and I felt real happy doing that. But yeah, it's just like the icing on the cake, where it's just like I met so many amazing people who supported me, and it was just a hobby and a service that I just enjoyed doing. And yeah, certain fan arts I would use for like vlog thumbnails, and I wanted to thank people by using their own art. Oh, Dark Souls 3 was one of the awesome thumbnails I got from Alistair. That was one of those, like, it was so amazing. I couldn't believe it. Yeah, I'm sorry. I'm just browsing through to see if there's any more. But again, like oh, 1-Bit Heart was another one. No. Fuck, man. Yeah, I have a lot of fun playing a lot of these games. Oh, Alice Madness Return. Yeah, that was another amazing one from Alistair. Fuck. Yeah, I think I got supergorski for the for the icon, channel icon, which I'm never gonna change, and the banner. And he made like other, yeah, he made like my one a Twitter icon, which was really cool that I used. Yeah, he made me like a DBZ fan art. Yeah, from there I just I still made my own thumbnails. New year, new approach. Yeah, I'm just going down more. Oh man. But yeah, I hope you guys are enjoying the podcast so far. I think I've mainly covered what I've wanted to talk about. Just looking back, and the live streams too. I always prefer doing Let's Plays more than live streaming, because I'm such a perfectionist when it comes to playthroughs. Like, I always talk about how I like editing out things and just making it enjoyable for the watcher and not having dead air, or if I have to redo a part because I failed it. Like, I like recording it and knowing that the end product will be an enjoyable video with no constant retries, unless it's funny, unless I watch it myself and I go, you know what, actually this is kind of funny. Like, if you see something that, like, if I show me redoing a part, like, there must have been something funny that made me keep it in and whatnot. But yeah, I'm seeing like more recent videos, and that's when I was like starting to feel like I needed to make a change, but I wasn't sure how to go about it, you know, with certain things going on. And I'm just glad that I'm in this point now where I do have something different going on. I'm very excited to get started with my new career, and just to make things better in my life and for my mom's life. Just make things better overall. Because like I'm like one of the most positive people in the world, most optimistic, but then there's a, you know, just this year has been such a weird one. And I just felt like I had to do something different. But I'm just very happy with the friends that I've made, all the support from all of you guys. For those of you who gave this podcast a try and gave me a try at some point and just enjoyed the stuff I made. And, you know, I just enjoyed like having these playthroughs planned out and having them be completed for you to enjoy, and not to worry about being a Let's Player who just abandons a Let's Play. I know there have been a few Let's Plays that I would stop, but they mainly did it because I just couldn't do it. I just didn't see myself enjoying it, or just like just particular reasons. But you all have been so supportive, and I will be, when I do come back to let YouTube full time, it's going to be when I'm in a point in my life where I have more time and I feel a lot better about my whole situation overall. I'm not in a horrible situation, but just having me in a new career has me feeling a lot better about things. I'm very excited to get that started. And I will be back, and podcasts have a good way of giving you guys content to enjoy. Whether you're listening to this at home or you download it and listen to it on your way to work or whatever. But let me know if there are any questions that you would like to be answered on the next podcast. There might be some podcasts I do in the future, some topics that I want to talk about. Some serious, some just like childhood stuff that I have in mind. You know, this isn't going to be like a weekly podcast. It's just like podcasts that I want to do if there's a certain thing. Maybe I'll talk about when I'm doing my military training. I might do a podcast talking about how it's going and whatnot, and stories, you know, that'll most likely happen. So it'd be cool. I don't have a name for this podcast either. I should have probably mentioned that in the beginning. Like, I don't have a name for this yet. But shoot me any ideas you have. I'm looking at the list I have of topics as far as the Let's Play journey has been. But yeah, it's not going to stop. Right now, it's just on a hiatus. But not quite, because I still like giving you guys these updates and these podcasts, and keep doing that. But yeah, I have other things I want to talk about, and I'll plan those. But I wanted to at least do this one before I leave and then go from there. But again, thank you guys so much for your support. You know, I enjoy being one of those YouTubers that you guys look forward to seeing content. In a way, I do apologize that there is no more new content, but I see people enjoying the old stuff that they might have missed or whatnot. Yeah, I pretty much covered everything. So thank you guys so much for listening. If you have any questions you want me to answer on the next podcast specifically, put them in the comments or tell me on Twitter. Let me know what you think about the first one. And that's about it. For the future ones, I'll probably add like maybe music at the end or the beginning. be a little more fancy with it. But podcasts are mainly just, you know, you listen to me talk. And hopefully I'm interesting to keep listening to. But thank you so much for your support and just, you know, just all you nice people. Even the negative ones, you know, I think that's one thing I didn't mention was when you do Let's Playing, you're going to get some critics. You're going to get some people. The people who maybe might critique your quality of the video, maybe it's like the frame rate of the video or your mic quality, that's one thing. But when you get people that just say you suck or you're gay or just whatever, they try to like rile you up. They try to say something, you know, to get you down. And the thing is in life is that you can get 100 compliments and be, you know, be happy with that. But then you get that one negative comment and that stands out. After all those 100 compliments, you get the one negative comment, and that's the one that stands out the most. And it can affect you in a pretty negative way if you let it happen. You know, people on the internet, they're faceless. You know, so they have this mask on where you don't know who they are, you don't know where they live, and they'll say the nastiest shit, or they'll say something without considering your feelings. And it can affect you, but you learn to ignore those comments. You can delete them. You know, if they keep doing it or they do it because they're being, you know, a troll, like, you know, you can block them, but, you know, you can still delete them too, you know. Sometimes some of them do it without thinking. You could tell, you know, I have commenters that I see the same people over and over, and I appreciate their comments, and I also appreciate when they say that they don't like something about the video or about the story of the game I played or whatever. And then that's it. You know, that's just what they want to say. That's fine. Also, when you Let's Play, dislikes are a thing. Whenever I got dislikes, they didn't happen very often. So when I would get it, I always wished in my head that dislikes worked this way, where you leave a like and that's it. But if you leave a dislike, they were forced to write why. But sometimes people just dislike videos. You know, it's just one of those things that shouldn't discourage you. Copyrights are another thing too. You know, don't be frightened if you get your first copyright strike. It mainly has to do with either Sony or Nintendo if you're playing a game like of one of their games, or some music gets copyright claimed. Like you can edit it out. You know, and sometimes I hear music in games and I go, okay, that'll probably get hit. So if you don't hear music, that's not on me. That's on YouTube telling me that, you know, they think that I'm using music that doesn't belong to me. It's just the game just happens to have it. But all that stuff you end up figuring out. Again, if you have any questions you want me to read out on the next podcast, let me know. Yeah, within a few days, I'm going to get started on my new journey. I ask for your prayers, not just for me, but for my mom, who, even though we're surrounded by friends and family, she will be living by herself. But she supports me very much. I love her. And she's a very, very strong person, but she's going to miss the goofiness and the jokes that I make constantly about just, you know, whatever we're watching or whatever we're doing, or about people or the conversations we have. You know, we can always have it on phone or through the phone, but it's just you know, it's different when you have someone there. So, you know, she's being very strong about it. And so yeah, thank you guys so much for watching the first Chris Caine podcast. I'll come up with a name eventually, but there's really no time for that. I don't want to be stuck on a name, figuring out a name before I actually create the substance that is this podcast. But other than that, I hope you guys are having a good night. God bless. Thank you guys so much for the years. I will be back at full swing. I have so many games that are out there that are just now being released, and there are games that have been released for years that I will eventually get to and enjoy those. So other than that, thank you guys so much for listening, and I will see you in the next video. Peace out. Thank you very much.